got match number 2 coming right up. It is going to be Alutemu versus Ryvius, and we are going to get straight into the, I'd say, the meat of today's sandwich in terms of matches, which is the Hunter matchups. So it's going to be Rogue versus Hunter. Rogue for Alutemu and Hunter versus Ryvius. So let's check out Alutemu's Rogue list. How well do you think this is going to do versus Hunter?
Yeah, I do think that this is the more well-positioned Rogue of the two we've seen throughout this weekend, because it is more on the tempo side of things, with the double waggle picks and deadly poisons in the deckhands and cutting the Burgle package entirely. And this is great against Hunter because they struggle to deal with this kind of aggression, especially weapon-based aggression, because they cannot run Oozes.
Yeah, it's a really nice thing to be able to just equip weapons and know that you can swing them whenever you want and not have to worry about them being broken or anything like that. And I do feel that this, I do agree, is much safer versus Hunter than, for example, the list we saw from Flurry in the previous match. Is there anything that... I think for me, the Cable Rats feel a little bit slow when the rest of the deck feels fast. So I'm not 100% on that, but of course, the value we've seen from Lackeys into Spirit of the Shah can't really be questioned at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And just having more things to generate Lackeys into the Togwaggle is always just a great contingency plan when the early game from the Tempo Rogue does not go well. But most of the time, I would say it goes well, because even if you do nothing and then just hit the Hunter for 8 over 2 turns with Waggle Pick, they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? They need exactly the scale hides. And yeah, it's a tough matchup for the Hunter for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day the Hunter Diaphragms a Cable Rat though, because then things get really interesting. But let's check out Ryvius' Hunter deck and see what he has brought to the table. He's actually taken a loss this week to Frosty with that with one of the Holy Wrath Paladin games, but this time maybe this is a little bit of a better matchup. I do like this list overall. The Wing Blast, although not a common inclusion as a one-of, is a card that you're never too upset to see from a card like Mark Shot or some of the other discovers like Shimmerfly, which means that I'm never too upset when I see, -1 Mark Shot +1 Wing Blast, because they kind of do the same job, and when you get one off a Discover effect, it's fine.
Yeah, and when it's just faster in this particular matchup against Rogue, you don't need to have the uber value from the Mark Shots and loading up Zul'jin. You just kind of need to not die going into your Zul'jin, and even the least spells put into a Zul'jin can be enough to stabilize against Rogue. And I do think that Rogue is definitely a worse matchup than Shrivala Paladin, but what Ryvius has going for him is that there's double scale height in the primary, which we've seen all manner of either just one scale height, I think, is the most common in primary we've seen in APAC at least, and even some people bringing 0, some people being Shaxi.
Yeah, and then that's the big deal, right? We talked a lot about best of 3 and your primary deck, because it is just locked in no matter who you're against. You can only tech for it beforehand, whereas you can move to secondary or tertiary deck once you've had that game number 1. It means that your primary deck really needs to have not any big glaring weaknesses where you just lose game 1 so hard. And I do like this from Ryvius overall, as in my experience at least, the Diaphragms onto Scale Hide is one of the most consistent win conditions that Hunter can do versus Rogue, because it means that they can, as well as kill pretty much every single Rogue minion that exists, they are also healing as well to negate some of the pushes from the double Waggle Pick, for example.
It's true, and the inclusion of the Wing Blast, as we touched upon, generally Rogue minions don't go above 4 health ever since the Miscreant nerf, and we're not counting Edwin as a Rogue minion. That is just a God minion.
Right, exactly, yeah. If Van Cleef's ever higher than, or ever lower than 6, well, you're not that scared of it anyway, so it's fine.
Full keep from Alutemu. Even off coin, these combo cards can often get there, especially having the Deadly Poison as maybe a turn 4 activator for the Miscreant, and then the Lackeys as the activators for the Edwin.
Right.
So for Ryvius, I wonder if he keeps Wing Blast. Definitely Master's Call is great, but... Oh, he also keeps Frenzy. I was thinking maybe you don't keep this when you don't have the Scale Hide for it to land on, but I guess he's pretty likely to draw it off the Master's Call.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't draw exactly Scale Hide, he's likely to draw a 1-drop beast that he can combo it with at some point, which means if he, even as a reactionary option, he can go, oh no, I need to clear this. I've got a Master's Call, so you get what, Spring Paw, maybe the Scale Hide, and then maybe some of the other options too. So it does mean that it's just flexible, and with the Master's Call, I do like the Diaphragms keep. I think if either one of those was missing, if the Master's Call was missing, you would probably throw Diaphragms, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, the choice here for Ryvius is Spring Paw and Hatchet. I think Hyena, this is probably the matchup where you never want to play it. I partial to the Spring Paw because he has Dire Frenzy, and that's like a pretty decent target, probably second only to Scale Hide in this matchup. So
Also, Hatchet doesn't really kill much versus Rogue. It's
It's
all
true.
3 health, isn't it? And you're like, okay, Hatchet plus something like a Spring Paw would be useful.
true, and I guess it's most useful with clearing off the odd lackeys, but I feel like Spring Paw just has more flexibility
Right,
in
it's
that
just
regard.
better in every way in this specific matchup.
So Ryvius can go for second tracking or the Coin Master's Call, and there's also the option of playing 2 Spring Paws on 2, but I think I like that the least because you give the Rogue off coin targets to backstab and then activate one of their 3 drops.
Well, because of that, do you ever think coin into Master's Call is worth? Yeah, I'm liking this from Ryvius. I think just you don't want to open him up to backstabs, as you said, especially going into turn 3.
Yeah.
And I like just getting my stuff.
Yeah.
Like just draw my minions, and now I have more and more and more options going into the following turns.
Yeah.
And quite importantly as well, the Deadly Shot is going to allow Ryvius to play slightly slower because he has a bridge turn as well to help get to that Vicious Scale Hide, where he can Deadly Shot, say, if a Shark is played on its own, or even, to be honest, if just Life Drinker or something is dropped down, you can just Deadly Shot, use a turn there, which gets you to that Scale Hide.
I was actually thinking maybe then the curve looks like tracking this turn and then Deadly Shot the threat next turn and then you coin into Spring Paw Dire Frenzy, but by playing the Master's Call now, you make it more likely that you can at some point land the Frenzy on the Scale Hide,
Right.
which is the premium target for that. So I don't mind this at all from Ryvius. But now, he kind of has to play a minion.
Does he?
I mean, I don't hate the 3-1s, honestly. You could also go for tracking and 2-1s, so you don't throw away the Timberwolf willy-nilly, but
I think
I feel like this matchup, the Timberwolf, is not too important.
I think with one Master's Call gone as well, you might want to save track until post Vicious Scale Hide Dire Frenzy, so you can maybe track into another Vicious Scale Hide on demand if required.
Or you could track into the second Master's Call now. I think
True.
it's tough to say. And the thing I said about Timberwolf, maybe there's incentive for holding it because he's got the Unleash. It's quite difficult.
I don't
Maybe
think hero power is the worst thing in the world this
I
turn.
feel like at least drop the Hyena, just because it's something out of hand. Like 1 drop and Hyena or 3 1-drops, I think. Yeah, and this looks like my first instinct. So yeah, I don't mind it at all. But now Alutemu is gonna have the. Oh my goodness.
He played right into it. Joking,
Did he
of
though?
course.
I mean, this is a 6/6 Edwin if he chooses, which dies straight up to kill command and deadly shot. So yeah, it actually makes more sense, I think, to go for the miscreant and possibly step that too, get more lackeys. Maybe not stepping it this turn.
Yeah, this is pretty nice.
Yeah, I like
But
this.
Alutemu, he's putting on pressure without overcommitting too much and being open to, say, exactly a deadly shot.
Yeah. And keeps the options of Shadow Step in hand. And he knows that the likelihood for the miscreant to die exactly this turn is low because there's only the 1-off marked shot. Well, I guess Wing
It's
Blast
Wing
too.
Blast, so it's the
Sure.
same normally.
But
yeah.
would Ryvius want to Wing Blast for 4 and have that be his turn?
It would be very
maybe
similar
not.
to a mark shot, though, right?
Well,
You don't
but the
discover
Wing Blast
it's-
gets better, and the mark shot, it feels good to play it
yeah.
on 4.
Miscreant
yeah.
gets better the longer you leave it on the board too, so can't be shadow stepped if it's dead.
Sure. Preparation seems decent with Myra's in hand. Or even just,
Perhaps sap cleave
yeah.
with a shadow step. Why not? If you're gonna go wide, you may as well go wide on a board where and on a timing where Ryvius cannot unleash the hounds and deadly shot.
I'm wondering why he was looking to step the Ethereal Lackey over the Miscreant. Oh, but I guess he's just going for the
Oh, okay.
biggest possible cleave, knowing
just-
that, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
he's gonna
deadly
save
this
the
board.
sap.
Yeah. You can't deadly this board unless you are a very good player.
I think Ryvius is pretty good at Hearthstone, so I think he goes for the deadly shot and just says, let's go. I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
If he had second Spring Paw, he could turn this into a 50-50. He could track into second Spring Paw and turn it into a 1 and 3. Man, this is tough. Maybe he goes for the counter Hyena. At the very least, the Unleashed can clear 2 things and then maybe set up for a better Deadly next turn. And in the meantime, develop a 6/4 Hyena and a couple of Hounds to give Alutemu something to be distracted by.
Outside of making it a 1 and 3, probably 1 and 4 is better for the long game. It probably is just Unleash the Hounds Hyena. I think it asks the most of Alutemu to either do something about it or trade, which would be a big deal. So I think this just ends up being the safest over 2 turns.
Yep, I do like this.
Now let's see where he puts the dogs. The other 2.
I like getting it out of the 4 health range because that is a key number.
Right.
And maybe just putting it at 10-6, now it gets out of the range of trade with the Miscreant and one of those 4 damage cards. But wow, what an incredible sap for Alutemu, and he can just rip the prep Myras as well. He can play the whole hand and then draw 10 cards.
He could. I was just gonna say I wouldn't be overly upset at using the backstab, just why not?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of cards.
And even the Deadly Poison for just 1 charge, I mean, drawing his deck by turn 7, well, a full hand by turn 7, you're ahead on board. He's just going to end the game next turn, most likely. Because Ryvius still does not have a guaranteed answer to this Edwin. He will hold on to both the Deadly Poison and the Myras.
The benefit is as well that it's unlikely, or actually I guess impossible now, that a minion gets played as well. So Ryvius at worst has a 50-50.
Now he goes for the Deadly. I guess he was looking for exactly Deckhand to tag on to the end of this turn to play a little bit more around Deadly again.
It's probably worth the 1 card, right? The chance.
Sure, yeah.
Well,
oh my goodness.
That's going to be good. Instant concede. Ryvius just knows there are far too many cards in the rogue deck that Alutemu did not get 1 card that pushes to, what, 2 damage he needed? 10 from the Van Cleef, 1 from the weapon, and then plus 2 damage, which is very, very reasonable to do.
I think Ryvius also just knows that Edwins are immune to removal this week.
Yeah, it's been really weird. Edwin's the scariest card I've seen all weekend by far. You can just ask Staz about that, as we did just have the quick interview. If you missed it, go back and watch some of his games, because Edwin was an absolute beast, but not in the sense that he needed to be. So Alutemu takes a win versus Ryvius, 1-0 in very quick fashion, but I think Hunter's still got a good chance. It was off the back of that Van Cleef, so let's find out if Ryvius can turn it around after this.
We recently revealed Hearthstone's all-new 3-tiered esports program. Masters qualifiers are already well underway, and now we're ready to share details on the highest level of competitive play, Hearthstone Grandmasters. Are you ready to unlock all the secrets of Hearthstone Grandmasters?
Come close and listen.
Here goes. Hearthstone Grandmasters is the pinnacle of Hearthstone esports, composed of 48 of the best pro players in the entire world. Grandmasters is divided into 3 regions: Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific, with each represented by 16 pros. These pros are selected by special invitation from Blizzard Entertainment. Criteria for selection include lifetime earnings, Hearthstone competitive points earned, contributions to the Hearthstone community, and more. So who are the lucky Grandmasters? Stay tuned, because in the coming weeks we'll be revealing the inaugural Grandmaster roster region by region. In 2019, there will be 2 seasons of Hearthstone Grandmasters. Each season will feature 8 weeks of world-class competition played out in online tournaments. Grandmasters pros will earn both prize money and performance-based bonuses during the season, and they will automatically qualify to compete at all Hearthstone Masters Tour events, guaranteeing these marquee tournaments feature the fiercest competitors possible. And the best part? You won't miss a second of the action, because matches will be broadcast live on twitch.tv/playhearthstone. 5 matches will be broadcast every Friday, with 5 more every Saturday. And if that isn't enough Hearthstone action, there will be 6 matches broadcast every Sunday.
More souls!
Mark your calendars, because the first season begins on May 17th. Hearthstone Grandmasters is the pinnacle of professional Hearthstone. where the world's best pros battle it out every weekend online. Think you've got what it takes to reach the top? The path to Grandmasters starts with our Masters qualifier tournaments, so sign up today.
Now the cards show me a tinker, so clever, but kind of a stinker. In a storm that's a raging, sits the last one I'm paging, a truly unusual thinker. All bots are now gonna go boom, but still, you shouldn't assume that I've made this selection on my own direction.
No, indeed, let's be clear. I have brought you all here, and now you're all in. It is time to begin.
Is Van Cleef going to do it again? That's the question we're going to have to answer in this series. As Alutemu is currently leading the way versus Ryvius 1-0 off the back of yet again a Edwin Van Cleef. I'm getting more and more scared of this card.
Yeah, you can nerf all the other rogue cards, but Edwin just still gets there. I mean, that card, I mean, we know it's been in every World Champions lineup since the beginning of time. I really thought it would get Hall of Fame, but I just want to see how long this card can keep dodging it.
Yeah, and it's really funny. Rogue, I do feel, again, after playing a little bit more, even after deck submission here that these players had to do, I feel like Rogue is still in a very, very, very strong spot. And when it's had so many of its cards nerfed in one go and no one else had anything nerfed, that's kind of scary to me. It shows how powerful it was. But now we're going to see if it can get the job 2-0 for Alutemu, who's 1-0 so far. He does have a pretty decent opening hand. It might not be... It might not be an Edwin Van Cleef, but it's close because there's just frankly a lot of options here, along with that backstab, coin, and an SI7 agent.
I'd say both of them had decent hands. Ryvius with the scale hide on 2 against rogues, sometimes it's not too bad just because you put them on having the backstab to clear it. And in this case, it's great because it actually gets to eat a 2-1-on-1. And now Alutemu, he probably coins. Oh, sorry, yeah, it just has 1 health. So saving the backstab SI as an answer for Animal Companion, no matter which one comes out, is always good.
Yeah, there's a safety net, but now Ryvius does have a Master's Call if he chooses.
I'm gonna try and push for tempo though. And he's pretty upset, I think, to see Huffer here because now backstab Miscreant is very backbreaking for him.
Right.
But in this case for Alutemu, I think Huffer was the worst result for him because he would rather not take in the 4 and then backstab SI'd an Animal Companion. Instead, if he wants to SI, it's not getting any extra value. So I wonder if maybe he Cable Rats instead.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because, again, with any deck that plays cards that can remove a Shark when it's just alone on the board means you probably don't want to play it out, especially early game. You want to guarantee some value later on. So we've seen it versus Warrior where you have to worry about Dynomatic, and now versus Hunter, Ryvius is running 2 deadly shots, so it means it's reasonably likely that it dies, and you've just wasted 4 mana on a whole turn. So, I don't know, this is kind of a tough one. Maybe you just bite the bullet and just say whatever, backstab SI. You put 2 damage to face. Get a 3-3 on the board, like, it's not insane value, but it's still really good. It's better than passing, I think. No, he's going to go for the Cable Rat. Okay.
Perhaps he doesn't want to give Ryvius the type of answer and then reset turn, which only ever favors the Hunter. If he just mark shots and doesn't take damage in the process, the Hunter's quite happy about that. And now, if Ryvius doesn't have exactly Master's Call, Alutemu has this responsive hand in which if Ryvius wants to keep developing, Alutemu can then capitalize on the type of cards he has. But Ryvius did have the Master's Call now, and Alutemu will be pretty upset about that, but from his perspective, at least he has the Shark double Lackey generation and maybe even Coin Ethereal, which is a ton of value.
Or, you know, deal 2, because he's going to be generating the lackeys anyway, so he could go wider on the board if he wants. Just having the options is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And most importantly, in most worlds, he ends up holding on to the backstab SI as well. So, value's looking pretty good so far on Alutemu. Isn't really thinking about this too much. He's just going straight for it.
The value's looking okay, but Ryvius has got quite a bit of removal. He's got the great turn of double Spring Paws and Timberwolf with the Scavenging Hyena, or depending on how the minions' healths line up, even just triple rushing 1/1s with the Scavenging Hyena. And that stall's pretty long. Oh, that's unlucky.
It is. It does mean it is almost like forced to be killed though, right? It's easy to kill because it's post Master's Call, so it's likely that there's some level of removal there because of Scale Hides plus Spring Paws, etc, etc. It means that although Ryvius is forced to kill this because it is a lot of damage, because it was an easy kill, this Hyena's looking a little bit scary now.
It does beg the answer, which in most cases the rogue would oh! Depending on what spell Alutemu gets, he could fit in the Edwin along with the clear, but it's not looking like he has it.
Wait, could he fit in Edwin along with the clear?
The betrayal is just not enough, right?
No.
Even with backstab, it's one short.
I think just backstab SI is fine anyway, right?
It is, but I guess you feel a little bit sad about using these lackeys before your Edwin turn. But then he's still got these cheap spells.
Right, and also if you cleared the board, it's more likely the shark lives anyway, which is only going to increase your stranglehold on the game, I'd say. Because this shark is the big deal here. And bear in mind, Alutemu, just to remind you a slight difference in him versus Flurry today, is that he's doing this shark stuff whilst running a way more aggressive list. So not only is he getting this value, he can also just kill you.
And the Shadows
Okay,
as
he
well.
must be going for
2
cleave.
more spells. Ryvius does not like seeing that.
He must be going for cleave, right?
Not necessarily. I think the Hyena is still priority removal.
I feel like if you go in this in, you are cleaving, because he can now Cold Blood. That's
now that he's got the removal, that is absolutely insane.
Baby Shark turns into a very large Van Cleef
Wow.
effect. That's you're not wrong, guys. Your screens are not broken. That is a 26-26 Van Cleef. And
Oh my gosh!
Alutemu sets up lethal, but Alutemu gives a nod as the deadly shot off the top.
I've just run out of words. I'm just making sounds and reactions now. And Alutemu, he actually had so many decisions there. He spent a lot of time picking between Violet Haze and Pickpocket, and I do like the Haze overall because I think it's just more efficient in terms of getting a couple cards, and he had tons of value anyway. And notably, even though the rope was burning, he managed to get all the actions in there. He knew when after he spent so much time, the rest of the decisions had to be snap picks, and shout out to him.
Oh, that's a good little combo when you play Violet Haze if you get Coffin Crasher.
Sure, yeah. What's the other one?
It's the
one recurring
villain, yeah. So if it gets effectively +1/+1 or more, it
respawns after
resurrects itself, yeah.
So yeah, that's neat. And Alutemu's got the double damage lackeys. Maybe it's not the best in this situation because Ryvius is far from dying, but ow. Rat Trap. Yeah. Insane. That is what people tend to sideboard when they're trying to beat Rogue. But I don't think Ryvius has it in his secondary deck. So that's pretty nice.
Yep, if Ryvius was building an anti-road deck, he would have switched to it, right? So he is sticking to his primary.
I do look at the secondary though because it is quite anti-aggro. It's got Revenge of the Wild and Witchwood Grizzly, but I think it's more in the alley of dealing with Zoo and Token Druid.
Right. It's a safety net versus those matchups.
Yeah. Ryvius is thinking, what is the worst death rattle that could come off of this? Karen? Sure, yeah.
Because that's a 10-10
Yeah.
you're not dealing with. You already got your deadly shot for Van Cleef. There is another deadly shot in the deck, but
he went for this immediately and almost snap kill commanded this. But now he's thinking, do I really just want to give Alutemu the free summon on a death rattle that I know he has in hand?
And it could be something along Safeguard, for example, would be a nightmare because you've just used removal to generate a minion that's kind of bigger because of the health totals.
But it could be just something innocuous like I'm thinking Serenade Taskmaster is the best one for Ryvius. Yeah, but
it's not because that kills his Huffer.
I mean, but you get something on board and clear their board. And yeah, from this from Ryvius I quite like because essentially killing the Coffin Crasher just gives Alutemu tempo.
Alutemu.
Yeah. Wow, this betrayal is pretty sick.
Positioning.
Yeah, you could have put the Timberwolf in the middle.
I'm sure Twitch chat is all over this.
Nowadays it gets easier because Crushing Walls is not a card anymore, so the positioning for Betrayal and Explosive Shot is the same.
Right. And that's a pretty big deal, actually, just losing Huffer.
Yeah, mainly because Ryvius doesn't have a turn 9 play. His Zul'jin is looking pretty good, at least to draw cards with Master's Call. I don't think there's that much else loaded up into it. There was the Mark Shot and Deadly Shot, but it's not summoning Unleash the Beasts. But it is a good enough swing against Rogue.
Does have Unleash the Hounds,
and
which is
Companion.
decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, tracking can get something going.
Also,
Ooh.
I was going to say, Unleash the Beast is decent, of course. I was going to say, I think Ryvius' original plan is like, let me kill Commander Minion and cross my fingers that I don't randomly die, and then all in on Zul'jin.
Yeah.
Which is more or less still the same plan. You just might use Unleash the Beast instead.
Yeah.
I wonder, does he ever take... Okay. Wonder whether he takes Rhino there.
Oh, he's just going to go aggressive with this. That's pretty interesting because the Zul'jin looks like a control card, quote unquote, but he can just attack from both ends here, make Alutemu have answers, and then just play the highest tempo card also.
Also bear in mind as well, for Unleash the Hounds, these two minions do not die from trading these dogs away, and almost all rogue minions apart from Lackey stuff is big
but
and
this is
used
just-
as removal.
This is just lethal though. I wonder if with the Lackey it is. I wonder if Ryvius was accounting for this on the exact 9 mana turn.
It's a tough one. Ryvius got to take the loss. I honestly thought, naturally, I might have to go back and just see the build up to that turn if I'm completely honest. Thumbs up from Alutemu though. He gets the win, and Rogue, a 2-0's Hunter, and you've got to say Rogue, fairly solid matchup, and Alutemu now goes 5-1, and he is easily at the top of the scoreboard for Division A, at least for now. But yeah, I half joked about kill command the 3-3 and hope you don't die.
Yeah.
But I also thought that was still a solid play as well, because I even thought Rhino for later on after the Zul'jin to then have Rhino and the Master's Call minions to then try and push the last bit of damage for the turn after Zul'jin. So I don't know what happened.
I don't think it was a joke at all. I mean, it was a consideration because Zul'jin does put you kind of on that control plan. And I did say that going for the aggressive plan puts Ryvius on an advantage from 2 fronts.
Right.
But then I wasn't counting the damage either, and Ryvius took the turn pretty quickly. Feel like there was maybe some time to look for the possible lethal outs from Alutemu, but in any case, it was a favored matchup for Alutemu, so the final outcome is not too much of a surprise for me.
Yeah, and not many people may have put Alutemu on as, a pack leader within divisions, but I think...
You haven't talked to Ant, have you?
Well, with my experience, because I've been casting APAC for so long, I know him as Machamp from obviously a while back. I rate him very, very highly, and it pleases me that he's doing so well, because I think he has also played some of the most solid so far in the weeks of Grandmasters for Asia Pacific. That was matchup number 2, though, so congratulations to Alutemu. We've got another matchup coming up very soon. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.